Hey guys, it's Clovis, and today we're going to do the S3 Gold license test in Gran Turismo 3. This test is painful. I'm not going to beat around the bush. It's probably my least favorite test of all these ones. The thing about this test is you have to, instead of you trying to execute everything very well and, worry about all that, you're basically just supposed to not lose speed. Like, basically you'd be full throttle for most of it. And whenever you have to actually slow down and take the low speed turns, you really cannot afford to brake any more than what you are supposed to. Like, if you brake a little bit too long in one corner, say if you like too slow here or here, all this speed that you carry here, you will lose like, a good second or two if you don't do this all properly. So these corners in this test, we actually are forced to slow down, especially with this, the last, hairpin, I guess. You really just have to do it as smoothly as possible. Like, there's just no room for error, really, compared to other tests. Like, even S8, you could beat the gold by seconds. This gold, honestly, I hate this. So I apologize if this tutorial isn't as good as the other ones, because I'm honestly not as good or as experienced doing this one as the other one. But I'll go through it anyway, of course, for the sake of completion. So let's go ahead and go into it. How we do this is I basically I run through this until I get the gold, and then we watch the replay with telemetry without any commentary, and then I'll go through the replay again and commentate it. But this will take me a bunch of attempts, so... Alright, so now that I've actually got the lap, let's have a look at it without commentary. Alright, and now that we've watched the replay with telemetry, no commentary, again, for reference, you can go back and look at that as many times as you need to, because during this commentary I will be using, pausing and stuff, just to explain what's going on. So, before we even start, basically, you're not going to have to brake until after the first little tunnel bit, and even then, you don't actually have to brake. You probably don't have to brake until, the end of the long straight. After the tunnel, the main tunnel. So, again, pay attention to the bottom left more so than the actual speed that I'm going at. For the most part, because that'll basically show you where you're supposed to, you know, hold throttle the whole time, which is for most of the circuit. So you see we're holding throttle, and we're trying to use as much road as possible. So you can see here we turn in. So instead of following the track entirely, we're kind of turning and then trying to create a straight line between these two. Just to minimize the amount of time that we're, you know, turning around on track. We're just trying to create the most direct line through the track. Now that's true for every single test, but for this one, there is literally nothing to do but follow the line as smoothly as possible. You're going to be holding throttle, you know, not braking, you don't have to let go of the throttle. So apart from holding accelerator, your only input that you have to worry about is how you steer. And you see turning right there, even though it's blind here, being on the right side will allow you to smoothly turn into the left. If you were on the left here for whatever reason, I mean, you'd already be going slower, then you'd have to turn sharply in the left here. So you can see trying to go on the right side and then turning smoothly into it, because if you turn too sharply, your tires will spin, you lose grip, and you lose speed that way. And again, the only thing you need to do in this test is to not lose speed. So trying to take corners smoothly as opposed to going like full throttle and sharp turning and then have your wheels spin is better off. It's so difficult to explain. Like, I'm not going to lie, I find this test harder than the other ones, and I'm doing my best to explain this. But what I do know is that you should be holding throttle pretty much for all this time, until you at least get to the tunnel, which you let go of the throttle but you don't brake. So look at this. See, I let go to turn in, and then if you pay attention to the throttle there, I'm not going full throttle, because if I full turn and full throttle after I coast, then my tires are just going to start spinning anyway, and the car's not powerful or heavy enough to spin out completely, but it is enough to make your tires spin, which just loses you time in the corners, and you really can't afford to do that. It's basically what you're avoiding doing, is having your tires spin through the corners. And you see the approach here, I really cut through, because you can. Normally the line would dictate you go a bit wider to the right here, and then cut back to the left, and then back to the right, but because of how wide you turn in, you do want to stay to the curb on the left. And also in the tunnel, there's no grass to the left of the curb, so you actually are incentivized to sort of cut that corner there just for the sake of getting more time out of that corner. So coming up here, you can see you're going to be basically touching this curb and then flicking through into the right. You can probably do this without hitting the brake, but if you slightly tap the brake, this just shifts the weight to the front of the car, you know, the front wheels where the car turns and steers, which will help you get through the corner. It will help your car steer into the corner, and then you can straighten up earlier. And the earlier you straighten up without wheel spin, the better. This is actually probably the most important exit, the most important corner for the whole entire first half of the track, is this one on the screen coming up right now. Now, if you throw your car through, your tires will spin out, and you'll have to kind of like wobble the steering back and forth, or dip the throttle and go back on the throttle in order to catch your grip back. So this is a very complex corner. Again, the B8 test, you do this in a much faster car, and there's lots more. Like, you could throw the car out as a skyline, you can drift with it. But ultimately, this section is all about the relationship between keeping speed and turning smoothly. If you do too much of one or the other, it is worse than equilibrium of both. Especially in this corner, because now you're just going to be carrying your speed all the way until after the tunnel and until the end of the long straight. You're just going to be holding the throttle and then steering in a way that, again, you're minimizing the amount of time that you're spending on the track during the corners. You're just basically cutting the line through at this point. There's no fancy tricks here. You just hold the throttle. Your tires will kind of tend to spin out, but you can't really avoid doing that. There you notice I was holding the throttle. In some cars this makes a big difference. This car maybe not, but I just do it anyway. If you're in auto, you can hold L2 or R2 and your car won't change gear. I don't even know if this is an intentional thing or a bug, but if you do that, you can get some extra speed on a straight line by holding a gear for a bit longer, so that your car is traveling a bit faster, before you change gears, which, you know, you coast for like a fraction of a second. So if you're coasting at a slightly higher mile per hour, then you are just going to get through faster. So even if it doesn't look like you're going necessarily faster, and in some cars it doesn't really make a difference, you know, every little millisecond counts, so yeah. Alright, so I did mention the corner where you, like in the rocks, is very, very important. I think that after that, this corner coming up now, this is probably the most important corner in the whole section. Because after you exit this, you're going uphill, and your car really struggles to go uphill. So like every mile per hour, every kilometer per hour matters. So I would pay a lot of attention to getting this right. You could probably even do this corner better than me, but because of the nature of its high speed, high turning, and you really can't afford to touch the wall on the exit, even slightly, because it will just kill. Even a mile per hour or two, it will just kill the gold run if you touch it. Like, it just will. So, you want to kind of send the car through, and then as you're turning into the left, you brake so that your car gets closer to the turn. And then as you think you're going past it, you need to carefully pick up on the throttle, and don't commit to full throttle until you're 100% sure you're going to make it. I know this is easier said than done, because if you leave this too late, and if you're a bit too careful, you just do not have the time. Like, you just won't make the gold. Again, I don't know how to tell you this, but this test is just really difficult. I find it very difficult. So, yeah. And I have got all the golds, and I find this one to be one of the tougher ones. So practice the hell out of this turn. Practice the hell out of it. And you can kind of see there, if you look back at that throttle, I am trying to... Again, it's you don't have to tap the throttle exactly how I do that, so don't read too much into that. What I do there is I tap the throttle until I'm really sure that my car is going to stick when I full throttle, and then that's when I apply. I apply it as soon as I know I can full throttle. I have to. A bit too early, a bit too late it's not good enough. Like, you want to be at least 65 miles per hour going up that hill. I'm not actually 100% sure of the kilometer per hour value, but yeah. So that one, it looks like I lost a lot of time in that corner, you know, going slowly, first of all, throwing the car out. But once you get in a straight line, you apply the throttle, you are exiting this corner way, way, way better than if you do that corner really smoothly. And then you get to about this point, and you're forced to like slow down and turn to the right. Instead, you kind of cut that corner early on, and then once you're about pointing towards this curb, you can full throttle. And again, this last section is very tricky. That last chicane that's like over to the left isn't a massive deal. This, however, is. You cannot screw this up. You really cannot screw this up. So I actually like to have my car maybe even two wheels on the right side. I know that seems really bad because it's grass, but again, grass doesn't actually really slow you down much in this game at all. Sand will kill you. Grass, it really, like, your car doesn't care. So you might actually want to throw your car a bit and really cut this corner. And I know it's sad because it's like the last corner and it's like a lot of risk, but I really don't know how else to do this apart from like just trying to throw, like, really cutting through the line and abusing the fact that you can have two tires on the road. Like you can see there, I pretty much had one or two tires max on the road there. And then so here, this last bit, don't be too intimidated by it. It's all about smoothness. So again, you're holding the throttle and you're going to be steering gently. What I think is actually important, though, is to not get on the curb here. Because this will make your car just kind of bounce and you will lose grip. I actually think it's better at the end to make sure you do not touch the curb. So you can slightly touch it on the left, but on the right, I do not touch it at all. If you turn right and you jump over that hill, like, you will just lose the whole run. It is just not worth doing that. There you go. I beat the gold by 5 milliseconds, and I did say this plenty of times that I have a lot of trouble with this one in particular. Maybe you'll be different. Maybe you're really good at this test compared to the other ones. But look, I really wanted to get the tutorial out so people weren't like, where's the S3 tutorial? So I'm sorry if that was bad. But I hope it was useful to you anyway. Remember, full throttle, all the way up until here, you let go, and then you tap to get you through this apex into the first tunnel. And then here you can either let go or tap the brake just to send your car through and make sure you get through at a decent speed on this one without your wheels spinning up too much. It's better to kind of sack a bit of speed and then exit it with a smooth car and no wheel spin than it is to throw your car through and then exit with wheel spin, and then you just lose a lot of exit speed that way. And exit speed, it's always important, but on this test it's basically all you have to worry about is your exit speed. Otherwise you lose like so much time and you will never catch up on it. Full throttle through there, and then this corner, make sure you practice this one. It seriously, like, this test took me an hour, and this was probably what was giving me the most grief, because you're then carrying all that speed uphill. Every mile per hour matters. Every single tick of your speed matters when you're pushing uphill. Because if you're slightly too low, you will just not accelerate. Your car will just stay at the same speed, and yeah, you will lose like a whole second just if you exit this like a kilometer per hour slower. With this turn, again, cut through it early so that you create a kind of pseudo straightening up through there. And then, again, this corner, I recommend trying to be risky and cutting it because you can't afford to. Again, like around here, you can't really do anything crazy. There's no patch of grass on the inside, and the outside's too far wide, the railing. But here, you have grass on both sides, so you really should be trying to use the grass when you can. There is grass over here as well in this chicane, but because you are full throttle and you turn sharply left and then sharply right, if you touch the curb, your car will kind of... If you lose any grip, even just because the curb pings you off in this car, you will lose speed, and you just won't get the speed back. It's a lot different than, the racing cars where the suspension will just let your car just go over curbs smoothly. So again, I hope this really helped. I'm sorry if this tutorial sucked, but yeah. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.